okay?
Yeah. Matter of fact, I've got Garignac staring me in the face right now. But you know what? I think I can take it.
Oh. Jason, we're gonna use the digital conveyor to get you out of there.
The digital conveyor?
Yeah.
You mean I'm gonna be diced into cubes and sit up there in a million pieces?
Right.
Well, you know what? I think I'll take my chance with Garignac.
We're getting you out right now. It's perfectly safe, isn't it, Ted?
It has never been successfully tested.
What did he say?
Hold, please.
Theoretically, the mechanism is fully operational. However, it was built to accommodate your anatomy, not ours. But now that Tech Sergeant Chen is here, he can operate it. It was designed watching his motions from the historical documents.
I mean, I can't. I can supervise.
Jason, we're gonna test it.
On what?
How about that pig lizard?
Hey, I'm doing all right with the pig lizard.
Please, Fred, and hurry.
I'm sorry. It's very exciting to watch the master at the controls. The operation of the conveyor is much more art than science.
Stand back, Jason.
What was that?
Nothing.
I heard some squealing or something.
Oh, no, everything's fine.
But the animal is inside out.
I heard that. It turned inside out?
And it exploded.
You are listening to Joygasm. That was our featured Joygasm moment of the week, of course, from the geek classic comedy Galaxy Quest.
One scene out of many good ones, Russ.
It really is. That is probably one of the most, like, just sharpest written comedies I think I've ever seen in my life.
And I would have never seen that if it were not for Dad.
Not for Dad? What do you mean?
Dad saw that first.
I saw it first.
Well, maybe you recommended it to him and he recommended it to me, but I didn't know about the movie until Dad said something about it.
Yeah. I came home raving about it because actually I had a friend who worked on some of the special effects for that film.
Oh.
And so it was fun to be able to go check it out. And then he went and just absolutely loved it. And then we got you on board and, you know, the rest is history. It's become definitely a family staple in certain classic movies, that sort of thing. So, of course, in that one, I'm trying to remember what is Tim Allen's character's name in that? It was Captain something.
Russ. Captain Toolman.
Captain Toolman. Well, anyway, you had a cast that was just it was a wonderful casting choice with Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, Alan Rickman, even Sam Rockwell, who actually back in the day he wasn't really that well known yet.
Right.
He was still kind of making a name for himself in film, and of course today he is just blown up, of course. But everyone who was in that film just own their part so well. And I just love the chemistry too. Like on top of the smart, funny, clever writing, I really did enjoy a lot of the kind of the acting chemistry that they had with each other. And you could tell they were just having fun.
His name was Jason Nesmith.
Nesmith, that's right. And of course, this particular scene is a memorable one, and it's where Captain Nesmith is facing off against the space pig.
Or the pig lizard.
A pig lizard, whatever it is.
Which is basically one big mouth with legs.
Yeah, and if you notice, the sounds that the pig lizard made were the same sound effects they used in Ghostbusters. It was back when those like demon dog things were trying to get at Sigourney Weaver and Rick Moranis, and So if you go back to that film and you listen to it, it's verbatim. It's like the same soundtrack, or not soundtrack, but like sound effects library, which I think is pretty fun. And of course, it makes sense because ILM and Skywalker Sound were the ones who worked on Galaxy Quest.
We need a dog. Okay, I got something. No, not just any dog. We need a snarling, ugly, demonic, alien-looking. Okay. Well, we got this old sound effect. It's from Ghostbusters. No one will remember it.
Yeah, exactly. That film came out in 1984. There's no way they'll remember what. Oh yeah, I'm sure it's probably like more of an inside joke, but yeah, so much to love in that. Of course, the Galaxy Quest movie itself is so fun to be able to see these celebrities who attend these Comic-Cons, and you kind of get kind of their perspective on the interactions with the fans, and then finding themselves on this actual real working ship that has been specifically designed based on the. What was it? The space documents?
No, the historical documents.
Historical documents. That's right.
So,
oh my gosh.
So the aliens were basically taking human form. They were a big fan of this show and they thought it was real.
Right.
And so the historical documents are basically the episodes of this Star Trek-esque kind of show. And so they based like the ship design, the controls. In this case, it was like the beam, like beam me up, Scotty kind of thing. And so they don't, the regular people don't know how to do any of this stuff, but they designed. That's why he's like, it's more art than science, because I just watched your arm movements and that's how I designed the thing to work.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing was such a fun movie. And it's one of those rare movies that like you can literally watch that movie 100 times. You're not going to get tired of it.
Right.
Every time you watch it, you're just like, man, that was so fun. And you can play it in the background while you're doing something else. I know like sometimes if I'm doing some 2D or 3D work, I'll just plop a movie like Galaxy Quest on in the background. It's just nice to be able to keep me company while I'm being all nerdy and stuff. So anyway, you are listening to Joygasm, a video game and movie podcast. I'm Russ, Xbox Live Toaster 360. He is Steve, Xbox Live Stevavitch. And Steve is close to saying adios to bachelorhood in episode 143 today, October 10th, 2019. We have a fun show for you guys planned. We are going to be catching up with each other before we go into our main topic of the day, which is China's influence over American businesses and free speech, which has been quite the hot button issue as of late over the last couple of weeks here. But first things first, I am curious to know about you, Steve. Just here we are. We're kind of on the eve of your big wedding day.
Right. 1 week after tomorrow, we will be rehearsing.
It to me, it seems like it just all of a sudden snuck up on us.
Yes. Many dollars later, many plans, many conversations.
Many moons ago.
Many moons, yes. Many a hot day, many a rain shower.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great.
Are you nervous?
No, I'm not. I am excited.
Oh, you're excited.
I am excited.
Are you as ecstatic?
Yes, I am. I'll throw that in the mix.
Oh.
Little remix action with that one in there, yeah.
Are you ready for it just to be over with, or are you more of the mindset of you're ready to just experience it?
Both.
Yeah.
I'm ready for it to be, actually, my fiance is ready for it to be over. I'm ready for it to be over. And it's just kind of that where you have so many plans and you're just tired of planning. You're tired of all the coordination. I'll remind the listeners who, this is not even really important to the show, but it's important to me that we've been planning from the state of Texas to the state of California and also from the U.S. to Canada. So there's all this coordination going on back and forth. And we're just tired of coordinating. We're tired of talking about it. We just want to do it.
Of course.
We just want to get it done.
Of course.
So anyhow, we are excited for the wedding and we're excited to see our friends. Excited to get dressed up. We've been talking about it for days, years, months, weeks, quarters.
Absolutely.
So, So I can't say it any other way. We want to get it just over with so we can stop talking about it.
And you'll be able to start your new lives together.
Yeah, a new chapter.
That's
quite a long chapter.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys up there. I'm looking forward to seeing the family and friends come together. I mean, weddings are one of those things where it is just a joy.
Yes.
Really, to be able to get together with people who you haven't seen in years, and everyone's there to gather to witness love.
Yeah.
And that's the world could always use more love.
Yes.
In my estimation.
Indeed. And you know what? If someone, I just want it to be kind of casual. There's so much plans, but if someone missteps or someone doesn't say something right, I'm not going to make a big deal about it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I just want it to be a great time, loved by all. I just want it to be a wonderful memory for everybody who's there.
Oh, I'm sure
You
it
know
will
what I
be.
mean?
Yeah.
Anyhow.
What else have you been up to this week?
Well, Russ, I watched Dumbo. You told me not to, but I had it.
Yeah, I was
going to
say, I warned you about that
Well,
one.
I didn't want to just okay, I got it. Now I'm just going to throw it back in the mail to send away. I had it. And I had to watch it for myself. And I'll tell you, it's the one word that comes to mind repeatedly is sorry. I felt sorry watching it. I felt sorry for all the characters in the movie, including Dumbo. I mean, the dad in the movie lost his arm in the war. You had the circus, ringleader who fell on hard times. He's trying to keep everybody employed. The kid's mother died, and they don't have a act they can do in the circus, so they're just kind of bumbling about. Dumbo lost his mom. Everything in the movie is just not happy, or
it's a downer, isn't it?
It's a downer to watch. Anyhow, Dumbo's cute, but it's not a kid's movie, really. I really.
It was a misfire. I really felt
Yeah.
and I was surprised too because the trailer was done so well.
The trailer was great. Gave me goosebumps, actually.
Yeah, I remember both of us were really taken with the trailer on that film, and it's again a testament to somehow the editors and the folks in marketing have really upped their game in movie trailers. I feel
Right.
like over the past year or two.
Right. So anyhow, moving on. So that was it. Yeah, a misfire is actually a good word for it. Colin Farrell was in it. What's her face? The girl who was in the
Excuse me.
that second 300 movie. You met her at the
Eva Green.
Eva Green was in it too. Mm-hmm. So I mean, the cat. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Danny DeVito was
Danny
in
DeVito,
it. Yeah. What's his name? Michael Keaton was in it.
Michael Keaton was in it. Oh yeah, that's right. Michael Keaton. Yeah, I was. Yeah.
You had a stellar cast. I mean, it was just. I think Dumbo is a tough one simply because if you recall the cartoon of Dumbo, the cartoon itself is actually pretty sad too, but they're able to kind of wander away a bit from the sadness. And so you're kind of going more into
The magic.
some of the magic and charm of the kind of the big top circus kind of thing. And so there is kind of a lingering sadness that is in fact there, but I don't know. I feel as though the Disney cartoon, I think, had more fantastical characters. I don't recall them really having any human characters in there.
Oh yeah, I remember there being some human characters.
I remember like it was almost like Muppet Babies where you couldn't see their faces. You'd see like their feet walking around and stuff as they do things, but I don't recall actually seeing people's faces. Like Dumbo befriended that rat, if you recall. Right. It was like a mouse or a rat or something, and he had that marching band outfit on. And so, to be fair, I haven't seen the cartoon in decades. It's been a long time, so I'm a bit rusty when it comes to knowing all the details of it. But what else have you been doing?
Well, I was gonna finish up by saying one of the unknowns I didn't know how they were gonna handle it was the Elephants on Parade song. I'm like, that was really weird as a kid watching that.
That's when all the animators at Disney decided to drop some acid, LSD, and start animating.
I'm like watching this, like this is going on way too long. Anyhow. So I finished that, and I watched the movie Tolkien, which is the movie. It's kind of like a docudrama in a way of Tolkien's life, how he got his inspiration for it. That was actually very good. It's not excellent, but it's very good. It's very well scripted. It stars the actor who plays the new Beast, and the X-Men movies, and he's very, very good in it as well. So any fans of Tolkien out there, definitely like it. I mean, at the very end of the movie, you're like, yes, this is great. So anyhow, watch that. Started season 2 of Homeland.
How is that?
It's good. It's good.
It is good.
It stars the main character who was like the lieutenant in Band of Brothers. Lieutenant Winters. He's like the main actor, the redheaded guy.
Oh yeah,
Tall dude.
Yeah.
And I think Monica Bacla. I'm so terrible with names. Bacla something or other. She's in it. She's his wife. And the dude who played Inigo Montoya from Princess Bride. He plays a pretty good. He's really good in it. He's in there. So anyhow, still a really good show. And then I'll have you know, I downloaded a couple games. I think I may. Oh, actually, I think I did tell you. I downloaded Everspace.
You did. I remember you mentioning that last week.
And I downloaded Kingdom Come.
Okay.
Both I'm disappointed in, Russ. I'm sorry to say. I mean, I'm not. I don't regret getting them because you're on Game Pass, and Game Pass was on a crazy good deal.
Yep.
And so I don't regret it at all. But I do. It leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, the Everspace I had really high hopes. And I'll be honest, I'm in the very beginning of the game, but there's just not a whole lot of promise left for me to really invest a lot of time in there. So then Kingdom Come is beautiful. The story is perfect. It's like the classic RPG story. You're the guy whose father is an expert blacksmith. You're in a small town. You get along with the king. No problems. And then you get invaded by an army who's just on their quest of conquering and expanding their empire. And you're forced to become a man from a teenager a little early and learn to fight and whatnot. So I like that kind of story. So everything is there. The music is beautiful. The graphics.
You got your hero's journey in there.
Yeah, but the animation is so clunky. It is so terrible, and it's not even like, oh, that part was bad. That part sucked. No, it's like through and through. It's like real herky-jerky depending on what you do. So it's unfortunate. The reviews I was reading before I got it, some people were mentioning you have to get past the beginning and then it gets way better. But I don't know if they were talking about just the mechanics and the learning how the sword play works or it is the animation. But anyhow. And I've been anxiously awaiting I'm telling you, Russ. We played a little bit of Overwatch.
We did.
We twitched. Not just our eyes.
No.
Not just our muscle reflexes.
Even though when you play that game, you feel like you're about to have an epileptic seizure due to all the flashes and colors that are going on at the same time.
But the Halloween terror night is
have got to say, I am really surprised that they haven't launched that yet, considering the fact that we're basically in mid-October.
Right.
I wonder if they've decided to change that up where they're just going to release it like on the week of Halloween.
That'd be terrible.
That'd be kind of a bummer.
They don't have an event going on right now at all. It's just you start the game and then that's it.
Right.
So I don't know what's taking so long. Anyhow, that's about up with me. What about you?
Well,
actually, hold off on that.
Okay.
I cannot stop thinking about the Joker. I remember I kept on telling you, like, I don't want to see it again. Now I kind of want to see it again.
Oh, he's getting the itch.
I can't stop thinking about it. Anyway, sorry for interrupting you. If you were me, I probably would have slapped you for interrupting.
No, it's totally fine.
Please.
I honestly anticipated that we would have some leftover comments from last week. In fact, speaking of, if you missed last week's episode of Joygasm, we highly encourage you to go check it out when you get a chance, just because we have a very big analysis from the Joker movie, and we ended up dedicating the entire episode to it. So you don't want to miss out on that, because there was quite a few, I think, really cool anecdotes and observations and thoughts. Just, I don't know. It was really cool. I myself have actually listened to it while I was taking a shower, come to think of it.
That's so hot.
It is. I thought to myself, I'd like to kind of review some of the stuff we talked about. Because actually, I mean, we were chock full of all kinds of comments on that one. So
as you were lathering yourself up and listen to yourself speak.
And kind of forgetting, did I wash my hair or not? I think I washed my body. I don't know, wash my hair.
Did I wash behind my ear? I forget it. No one checks behind your ears anyway.
I'll just do it again. No, but I was thinking about the ending of the Joker movie a little bit more. And one of the things I wanted to share with you is at the very, no, I can't talk about it. I have to stop myself.
Thank you.
I was about to go into spoiler territory and the movie is too fresh. Too new.
Good job.
It's only been out for a week. I will tell you off the air. And hopefully I'll be able to remember to talk about it maybe a few months down the road or something if it comes back up in conversation.
And if not, then definitely on Patreon.
And maybe so. Absolutely. There's a lot of stuff to be able to talk about. So for me this week, I'm very excited, Steve, to let you know that actually this particular update happened last week, but because we were doing the Joker movie, I decided to punt it to this week. Last week, I beat Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. And it was a monumental triumph.
I thought you had already done that.
No, the last time I talked about it on the show, I had defeated my foster father.
I thought you had posted on Facebook.
Yes.
On the Joygasm Facebook that you had beat it.
I had, but we had not talked about it simply because that happened right before last week's podcast recording.
Got it.
So, but I wanted to be able to share with you the final 2 minutes of the battle that was going on. So to kind of kick things off here a bit, the final battle has 4 different stages that the boss will come at you with. And there's no resting in between. And there's no mercy in between either. So what happens is that if you die during any phase of the last boss battle, you have to start all the way over again. Let me tell you something. That's it's a little difficult, especially when the boss is constantly pulling out new weapons after each phase has been completed, and there are new weapons and moves, and you're trying to frantically memorize and defend yourself. So here is the final 2 minutes of the battle I had, and I feel compelled to be able to share this with you properly. So as you can see, it's raining, it's storming. This is the final phase of the battle itself, and he's coming at me with everything. He's got his big spear, he's got his sword, he's running around like a lunatic. He's pulling off these crazy special moves that are like sound waves in the sky. You'll notice here, I timed his lightning strike to be able to deflect it back onto him, which was huge. Of course, seeing the plants, the shrubs get shredded as he's trying to take me out is always epic, as well as fighting along the edge of the cliff. He's going to do one more attempt at the lightning, strike it right back at him. That causes him to have shock, and I finish him off right here. Death blow. And he falls to his knees. And at this point, my hands are trembling as I realized I had become Master Shinobi.
I understood that word.
Immortality severed. At this point, I think I let out a ginormous hoop and holler that kind of creeped out my wife downstairs, because this has been a long time coming in terms of how many hours I've dumped into this game. And
how much sweat has been soaked in the couch.
Exactly. So I wanted to share that with you just because there's a lot of effort that has gone into that. I feel as though like every achievement that I was able to unlock with that game was just earned. I mean, it redefined for me like what an achievement is, because more often than not, like you'll get a new game and it'll say achievement unlocked. You started playing the game.
Yeah,
and it's
you
like,
passed the first level.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
like what? That's not an achievement. What is that? Congratulations, you got up off your couch and you got the controller. You're like, come on.
You watched the beginning of the game. Good job.
Anyway, it was fantastic to be able to make my way through it. There were a lot of drag down, knock out, just get absolutely freaking pissed at the game. But the game has a hook. And I've talked about this on this program before, where like, even when you're not playing the game, you're like obsessing over it. You're stewing over it. You're trying to figure out how you can defeat like whichever adversary is blocking you. You know, you're the get good wall, so to speak, that gamers know quite a bit about. So I feel proud. I feel like that is yet another Ninja Shinobi themed game that I can place on my badge of honor. You know, right next to Ninja Gaiden and Revenge of Shinobi. You know, all those. Tenchu, absolutely. And I have all but I think 4. I think there's like 4 achievements that are still locked. And I believe I can unlock them if I go through New Game Plus. So the cool thing about New Game Plus is that I retain all my abilities. I retain all of my skills, all of my gold, everything. And I just start the game over and go through and just kind of deal out a lot of punishment, I suppose.
More punishment than was inflicted before. More punishment on the punishment.
I did take a little bit of a break though, just because the game is so intense. I could tell my blood pressure was just going up and up and up. I mean, I am not exaggerating when like my heart was like, I could feel my heart was racing and my hands on multiple occasions after certain boss fights were just shaking and trembling because you have so much adrenaline going through you. And the game has so little or small window for error, if at all. And you've seen what happens like if you do not do it correctly. I mean, you get brutally punished. So
just like Clash of Clans. I get it.
Oh yeah, sure. We'll go with that. Of course, the other big news for you, Steve, actually, I'm surprised that you didn't mention this. We finally got the PS4 set up correctly. So now I have my my external hard drive back here at the house, and you are able to check in and play all the games that I have purchased. And so that was a big victory. We have to give special thanks to our good old friend Brad on that one, who ended up FaceTiming us and was just trying to go through step by step to see what it was. He even got a little stumped too. So I feel a little bit better. It's not like we had like some sort of simple solution that we just couldn't figure out. But many minds can overcome many problems. So that is super cool. Hopefully you're going to have a good time with that. I also beat Team Sonic Racing, the Team Adventure mode.
Oh.
So I've been able to unlock all the tracks. My daughter is extremely happy about that because now we get to race together. Uninhibited, no locked tracks. And I resumed the Devil May Cry 5 playthrough. And you're right. I mean, it's a button masher of a game. It is a whole lot easier than Sekiro. I will tell you that. Like I am so used to having a difficulty be way up here. Now when I'm getting in there, I'm like, bring it! Like I'm already like halfway through the game and like I haven't died once.
It's been 30 minutes. You're halfway done.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, that's one of the things about Sekiro that's super cool.
Russ is now a Devil May Cry competitor in like the nationals. He's like, yeah, I just started playing. I'm a noob. You're like, wow, where's this guy come from?
Yeah, man, this guy's amazing. I haven't gotten used to some of the gameplay mechanics though of Devil May Cry 5. Specifically, the style of fighting. Like, I guess the game has a heavy emphasis on like how cool can you make yourself look while you're vanquishing your enemies.
Right.
And I think part of that has to do with the fact that I haven't really unlocked too many additional combat moves, just because I've been focusing more on like the agility movements and stuff that you can unlock, and even the ones that cost more of whatever the red orbs are, whatever it is. I've been focusing on getting more of those unlocked first, just because it just takes longer to stack those up. But I must say, though, the graphics engine, I mean, that is the same graphics engine as what they used for the Resident Evil 2 remake. That's a gorgeous engine.
Sure is.
What's crazy is that like with Resident Evil 2 Remake, I feel as though you're a bit confined to being in these indoor areas, whereas in DMC 5, you have much more of like kind of the outdoor experience. And so I feel like they're able to flex the engine a bit more and be able to show off like what they're capable of. I know that you're kind of burned out on the DMC series, but I don't know, maybe like there can be a time or two when you come over and just check out. I'm assuming that you can replay any of the levels that you beat, right? Like, can you just jump in and jump out if you want, or do you have to start all the way over from the beginning?
Well, for this one?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I'll have to look into that because I think that you actually, just from a visual candy standpoint, I think that you would probably appreciate quite a bit of what they were doing. And the bosses are just huge. Have they always been really, really big in the series?
Yes, they have.
Well, color me impressed. Finally, this is a little off the beaten path in terms of what we typically talk about in this segment, but I've been diving into two programs. One is Adobe XD and the other one is Sketch. They're both competitors in the UI UX design world. And just with me having this extra free time, I was thinking, well, it'd be nice to sharpen my skills in these two programs and just kind of refresh myself. I actually found a tutorial on YouTube that shows how you can use your Xbox controller as part of the prototyping for whatever design you come up with well, not in Sketch, but in Adobe XD. That got me super excited because I can now effectively put together some prototypes. And I was thinking about starting up an Xbox dashboard concept. Like if I were to concept the Xbox Scarlet, Project Scarlet dashboard, what would it look like? And then what I can literally do is connect my Xbox controller to my laptop. And then once I have everything all set up in terms of the interactivity of it, I can then literally go through and control all the movements and stuff with the Xbox controller as opposed to like the keys on my keyboard or anything like that. Oh man, I'm kind of nerding out on that. I'm like, oh, that's pretty sweet. Because normally you have to have some kind of like SDK machine or whatever that Microsoft or Sony gives you. And it's a bit more involved. But with something like this, it's like, man, I could like have quite a bit of fun mocking up some UI designs based off of maybe some popular games I played recently, or like I said, like some dashboards for the systems. So I'll be playing with that. If I come up with something, maybe I'll show it to you if you're interested.
Yeah, I definitely will be interested.
The music's playing. You know what that means.
No, I don't.
Time for the topic of the day.
Wait, what?
Our topic of the day is China's influence over American businesses and free speech. So this has been a constant story development, I would say, over the past several months. It's kind of it's remained as predominantly a news story you would see as it relates to more of Hong Kong and China. But over the recent weeks, it has really started to pull the US of A into things. And it's been interesting how all of this has come about. And you and I have not really talked too much about this. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on some of the why are you looking at me like that?
Yes, Russ.
The events that have transpired as of late. But and I don't really understand all the background of what's been going on.
Okay.
At a high level, my understanding is that the folks in Hong Kong, there have been a lot of protesters who are pro-democracy, who are protesting, I think, as one of the things, the 70-year Communist Party anniversary or something like that. And so there's been a lot of unrest, a lot of stuff going on. But anyway, we're not going to get into too much of that because we're just not really that experienced in that area. And plus, we want to focus on the companies. So I have a list of companies here that have appeared in the news over the last 2 to 3 weeks who have done certain things that may cause an eyebrow or two to be raised, and
Or 3.
I think that it's actually causing folks to really become involved with what's happening over there, which I think is a very good thing. The first company, is Apple. This was one that broke more recently, but Apple has removed from its app store a smartphone app used by Hong Kong pro-democracy activists to crowdsource the location of protesters and police after Chinese state media suggested that the tech giant Apple was aiding the what they call as the rioters. So I have a couple of quotes here that I've written down. This one says, "We have learned that an app, which is called hkmap.live, has been used in ways that endanger law enforcement and residents in Hong Kong." And this is Apple talking here in this statement. It goes on to say, "Many concerned customers in Hong Kong have contacted us about this app, and we immediately began investigating it," end quote. I have another one here where Apple was also quoted as saying that the app has been used to target and ambush police, threaten public safety, and criminals have used it to victimize residents in areas where they know there is no law enforcement. Now, hkmap.live reportedly consolidates reports from social media and then uses the information to plot the locations of protests and such information as where police are using tear gas. The developer of this app responded to Apple's decision, said, quote, "We once believed that the app rejection was simply a bureaucratic F-up, but now it is clearly a political decision to suppress freedom and human rights in Hong Kong." And this was according to the Post, which broke that particular story. So it's from that standpoint, it's interesting to see how there are certain things that Apple has stated as being concerned for safety of officers, that sort of thing, which I could see that making a lot of sense. But at the same time, we all know that China has become the customer of interest for Apple as it continues to strive to be able to not only maintain its profitability, but also to expand upon that profitability, just because they've pretty much taken over everywhere else. And China is ripe for being able to increase their user base. So one does question how much of what they decided to do is impacted by the almighty dollar. The second example is the NBA. The Houston Rockets general manager apologized on Sunday for a tweet expressing support for Hong Kong protesters that has sparked a harsh backlash from China's official basketball association. On Friday, Mori took to Twitter to show solidarity with a months-long anti-government protest in the Chinese territory. He sent a tweet that read, "Fight for freedom, stand with Hong Kong." It was very short. However, soon after, the Rockets owner, Tillman Fertitta, I believe is how you pronounce his name, sought to distance the team from the controversy, tweeting that that Morley does not speak for the Houston Rockets and that the team is not a political organization. So it kind of snowballed from there, where then the manager, Daryl Morey, he then tweeted, said, "I did not intend my tweet to cause any offense to Rockets fans and friends of mine in China. I have a lot of opportunities since that tweet to hear and consider other perspectives." So he's starting to backpedal a bit on his initial tweet. And on Sunday, the Chinese Basketball Association, headed by former Rockets center and Hall of Famer Yao Ming, a really tall Asian basketball player, announced that it was suspending cooperation with the Houston team. And Tencent, which we know is from the stock market and stuff, that they're heavily invested in several different video game companies and other companies. They are a media partner of the NBA in China with a 5-year streaming deal worth $1.5 billion. And China's state television also said they wouldn't be airing Rockets games. So they're punishing the manager for saying that simple tweet. Now, it gets a little more interesting on top of that, where then you have the NBA spokesman, Mike Bass, I believe his name is. He said in a statement late Sunday that Maury's original tweet was regrettable. We have great respect for the history and culture of China and hope that sports and the NBA can be used as a unifying force to bridge cultural divides and bring people together. Now, the NBA commissioner then jumps in, and this gentleman's name is Adam Silver. And he is affirming that the league will not censor players or front office personnel, saying freedom of expression is paramount for the league, which has been criticized for its response to an employee's tweet about pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong. So a lot of what we were noticing with the NBA situation is this kind of almost like a dogpiling mentality, where on China's side, they don't want anyone being critical of the actions that they're taking in their own country against the folks in Hong Kong. And one of the ways that they are trying to leverage influence is through the pocketbook. And you're seeing quite a bit of this with the Rockets owner, with the NBA commissioner. They apparently, and I didn't know this until I started looking into this whole entire topic of the day, the game of basketball, the NBA is actually very popular in China. And so they've been able to make some inroads with the country over there. And there has been a lot of interest in them starting to invest money into the NBA, that sort of thing. And at the same time, though, they're starting to flex when it comes to some of the things that they don't agree with or that makes them look bad or whatever else. And I'm really surprised at some of the responses and behaviors on the American side, where they're really going out of their way to almost throw their own man under the bus. So that was a bit shocking. Well, then, yet another company, Blizzard Entertainment, the game developer behind hugely popular titles, as we all know and love, such as World of Warcraft and Overwatch, has banned a professional esports player from competing and taken away his prize money after he expressed support for Hong Kong's protest movement. So, excuse me, the player's name is Nigwai Chung, who lives in Hong Kong and plays under the name Blitzchung. He is one of the top players in the Asia Pacific region for the online card game, as we all know, Hearthstone. Exactly. Blitzchung had made the comment on an official Hearthstone broadcast on Twitch, which of course is the video streaming platform, after his last game in the 2019 Hearthstone Asia Pacific Grandmasters tournament. What he did was he wore a gas mask and dark goggles during that interview last Sunday, which it's kind of evoking the gear activists have worn during the months of the street protests. And toward the end of the segment, he shouted the popular protest chant, "Liberate Hong Kong, Revolution of Our Times." Now, in an announcement that was released this past Tuesday, Blizzard Entertainment said the player's statement violated a tournament rule that prohibits any acts that, quote, bring you into public disrepute, offends a portion of a group of the public, or otherwise damages Blizzard's image, end quote. Now, Blitzchung, a Hong Kong native who started playing Hearthstone in 2015, was banned from participating in Blizzard esports for 1 year. And he told several media outlets that his tournament winnings, which was said to be $10,000, has been rescinded. So he's not getting any of the prize money for that either. And Blizzard also announced that they will no longer work with the 2 Taiwanese streamers who interviewed the esports player on Twitch. So, I mean...
Angry much?
Well, to me, it's just extreme because, like, for instance, the Taiwanese streamers, they're not the ones who said what was deemed, offensive or controversial or whatever. They're just interviewing the guy. Well, but Blizzard is taking that extra step, and I was doing some more digging, and so the gaming community has largely denounced Blizzard's actions, and they're accusing the company of caving into China. But one of the key things that I found was that, the company Tencent that I just mentioned, Tencent Holdings Limited, which is a Chinese conglomerate, owns a 5% stake in Blizzard's parent company. So, I mean, that's actually quite telling in terms of what it is that we're trying to get to the bottom of. Now, there is another, I think this is the last example I have of this is South Park. Have you heard of this?
I have, yeah.
So South Park was scrubbed clean from Chinese internet after the episode of what's called, quote, Banned in China. It was kind of a double entendre. Did you see the episode?
I have not.
Okay, I watched the episode, and it's literally the boys of South Park have created their own band. And they're trying to do their thing and stuff, but they literally are getting also banned in China.
Right.
So
it's a play on words.
Yeah. Anyway, in the episode, of course, they criticized the communist government censors, and Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators of the animated show, responded to the ban with a fake apology on Twitter. I'm going to do my best. I feel compelled to try and do this with kind of one of their voices, but they put on Twitter, says, like the NBA, we welcome Chinese censors into our homes and into our hearts. We too love money more than freedom and democracy. Parker and Stone wrote, Z doesn't look like Winnie the Pooh at all. Tune in to our 300th episode this Wednesday. Long live the great Communist Party of China. May this autumn's sorghum harvest be bountiful. So I also I found a clip from that episode that pretty much sums up Matt Stone and Trey Parker's disgust with what's going on, and I wanted to play that for us right now.
I can't do it anymore, you guys. I can't even think with the Chinese government censoring everything I write.
So there's not going to be a biopic movie for us?
It's so wrong, I mean, we live in a time where the only movies that us American kids go see are ones that are approved by China. Yeah, it's like China is the new MPAA.
Stinks to say goodbye to all that biopic money and glory.
We just gotta face it. A death metal band is never gonna make real money anymore. The only band that would get approved by China would be all vanilla and cheesy. I'm gonna have to live on that f***ing farm forever. Kyle! Dude, you're back! Yeah, the migrant detention camp was cute, but it kind of rubbed Kyle the wrong way.
Anything happened while we were gone?
Not really. We just almost had a biopic made for our band, but... Wait a minute. Wait, vanilla and cheesy. I've got it! I've got it! This is all wrong.
No, it's good, kids. They're loving it.
Yeah, but I can't sell my soul like this. I want to get away from that farm, more than anything. But it's not worth living in a world where China controls my country's art.
什么？你竟然看不起我？
I don't care how many people you have. I've got something in me that just won't let me be a part of all this.
Yeah, whatever it is, I've got it too.
Yeah! I want to be proud of who we are, guys. And anybody who would betray their ideals just to make money in China isn't worth a lick of spit.
There you have it.
There you go.
Matt Stone and Trey Parker stepping up.
Yeah. You know what? I need some South Park in my life. I gotta rent it. And I gotta rent it among everything else that I want to see. But it's time I get some more South Park in my life.
It's very true. I couldn't agree more. I'm hoping that they're going to be coming out with some sort of grand collection
Box
of
set.
like the entire series of South Park, which has been, man, have they had like 20 seasons?
Yes,
Over 20 seasons.
Yeah.
I think they got started around 1997 or 98.
No, I remember it was around when I was in high school. Just gonna say it,
That's insane. Anyway, long time, but I have a lot of respect for these two guys just because this isn't the first time that they have used their talents and their comedy to be able to speak on things that are going on geopolitically speaking. You know, they had their Team America World Police movie that came out a while back after 9/11 occurred, and there was just a lot of really sharp-witted humor with just taking and poking fun at a lot of different parties that are involved and through their fictional story. The same can be said too, even with there are other movies too that they've done. You know, like the cartoon movie was actually really good of South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, I think it was called.
Yeah.
So it has been, you know, with the beauty of South Park is no one is in the clear. Like, they make fun of everybody. And the funny thing about South Park is the more that you have a certain party rail against South Park and get more offended, the more that they will just use that as energy and keep producing stuff. And I love that because it forces the notion that's like, you know, you're not better than anybody else. Everybody's got their quirks. Everybody's got kind of their mishaps and their funniness and stuff. And we all need to not take ourselves so seriously all the time. We need to be able to just chill, relax, be able to laugh at ourselves a bit here and there. And so I tip my hat to those guys. It's super cool. But in the whole episode, you know, you see American entertainment IPs kissing up to China, as well as Winnie the Pooh and Piglet. They not that they kiss up to them, but you see these characters play a prominent role in the episode where they become political refugees. I guess it's like there's like an apparent perception of Z, who is kind of the supreme leader, I guess, of China. Excuse me. I guess this is the first time I'd ever heard about this. Apparently there's some sort of perception that he bears a resemblance to the fictional character of Winnie the Pooh, and he absolutely hates it. He hates being compared to Winnie the Pooh. Again, this is all brand new to me. I was just looking through this, trying to get supporting details for this particular topic, but pretty interesting. I know I've been just going down the list of all the stuff that I was researching. So what are your thoughts as it applies to these American businesses and their behaviors toward what's been happening?
Yeah, you know, on one side of the token is, okay, if I'm going to invest in you, and you're going to take my money and then make me look bad, then I'm going to have a say about it. So with that one aspect, I can kind of agree with China. However, our country is our country and our liberties are our liberties. And I really want to stick on, I mean, you have the big companies, right, but you have the small guy that got severely punished by Blizzard. And I kind of want to focus on him because, I mean, you have multi-million-dollar companies and chains and
multi-billion dollar,
and they're making big decisions and they're getting punished. But the little guy got the severest punishment. He's just playing a mobile game, and the whole company of Blizzard and came down upon him, and the whole government of China was on top of them too. So you dogpile the little guy for 10 grand, and all he's doing is playing a game for fun. And it's not like he even said something terrible. He was calling for human rights and freedom. I mean,
right.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. If he came out, if let's say China introduced slavery all of a sudden, right? And this guy said, you know what?
Which they kind of already have with their forced labor camps.
Exactly.
But notwithstanding, go ahead.
Right, but I mean, if he came out and said, you know, I'm anti-slavery, you know, let freedom ring. And then I think Blizzard would be like, you know, let's give him another 10 grand. You know, but because they had the Chinese in their pocketbook, they just exhibited the entire force of the law upon him. And I think he was even talking to IGN. Well, I was going to ask you about this. You read a lot of IGN. I don't read all that much, but IGN interviewed the guy. And the little guy is like, no, I'm not going to take back what I said. No, I firmly believe in what I said, and I'll probably never play Hearthstone ever again. But no, I'm not going to. There's no apology. And he shouldn't have. And it takes like the one guy. It took him to say the right thing, rather as everybody else is making buku bucks. Had to backpedal like the NBA and, Apple. And I mean, Apple took away an app, but, still, I mean, there's more to come. I mean, and China's heavily influenced in Hollywood. I mean, even with Top Gun coming out, they've changed Maverick's jacket because they can't stand, whatever. So
yeah, there used to be a patch, if you recall, the iconic leather jacket that Tom Cruise wears in Top Gun. I don't know the names of the patches, but there was apparently a patch in the original Top Gun that I think had to do with China.
Right.
And because I guess it's either Tencent or there's some sort of Chinese investors who have put some money into the Top Gun sequel, they were successful in getting that particular patch removed from Maverick's jacket. That's a problem.
Yeah.
And I think, I have a number of thoughts on this. I think that, first of all, I'm really concerned about what we don't know. Just because, and I don't mean to be like conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but these are the companies and the NBA, for instance, the nonprofit. These are the folks who got found out, who like through the social media and Twitch streaming, that sort of thing. You discovered the types of actions that they took, but I don't think it's limited to just these 4 different examples. I think that there is a lot of Chinese money that is influencing several very large corporations here in America. I think that, I don't want to put any kind of bad lighting on larger companies, but I mean, there are lots of other companies out there who have a special interest in China in terms of their customers. They want to be able to tap into that 1 billion population. And it does make me wonder what kind of unsaid stories have yet to be told when it applies to this. But also too, another thought I had, and this, I think this is kind of a universally agreed upon thing among the masses here, but greed is such an ugly thing. When you become a slave to the almighty dollar or whatever currency it is, regardless of which country you're from, it really causes you to compromise. It compromises yourself in ways that, if you were at some sort of cocktail party and the subject came up, you most likely would say the opposite of, or you'd say you do the opposite of. Yet when it comes to that, there are certain compromises that get made. And we are witnessing here several entertainment-oriented companies that are making decisions that squelch free speech. And I personally have a big problem with that. I think that being in America, that is something that we, oftentimes take for granted. And there are moments when we are all of a sudden just starkly just reminded of how special that is, how important that is. And I think that there's that's part of the kind of the American spirit in a way, if you allow me to say, where we have all been raised with the idea that the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, is everyone's right. It is your right to be able to speak your mind. And if you have parties who disagree with you or don't like what you have to say, well, you have to deal with it. I mean, they have the equal right to be able to say things back to you, the whole sticks and stones may break my bones, but words never hurt me kind of thing. I think that we are starting to see more of the ugly side of things when it applies to this, because as I mentioned earlier, China has been on a lot of American companies' radar for some time now. And you have a lot of these companies that have benefited from the American community and the global community at large. And they're starting to tap into more of these other markets. And I think that it's for lack of a better word, it's disgusting. I think it's disgusting that you have these companies that are not standing up to China and saying, hey, we understand how you guys operate over there, but you have to also understand and respect the way we operate over here.
Right. It's not all about China.
Right.
Right.
So it goes back and forth with that. And again, I want to remain respectful as to what the situation is that's going on in Hong Kong, because I just don't. I'm not there. As an outsider looking in, I don't have all the details. The very little of what I do know is that it strikes me that Hong Kong, which used to be, I believe, a British province that they relinquished, the folks there are very pro-democracy. And China, I think, has seen Hong Kong as a part of China itself, and there's been like a lot of back and forth with that, and that's about the extent that's as far as I know of just kind of the complexities of what's going on over there. And of course, I hope that things get resolved peacefully. I hope that they're able to come to an accord. But when it comes to things like the Blizzard Entertainment thing of Hearthstone and of penalizing and basically it's not just penalizing, it's punishing the player for expressing themselves. See, this is where you have a bit of the rub. Entertainment companies don't like to be involved in politics, period. That's why they're in entertainment. They like to entertain. They like to put on a good show for everybody, and they don't want people to walk away being upset. And so when you have people who do that sort of thing, that causes the producers and the show owners and investors to squirm and get upset and that sort of thing. And this isn't the first time that we've seen it. I mean, we see this kind of thing quite a bit. I mean, like even when you watch the Oscars or the Grammys and you have celebrities get up and they get 45 seconds or so for their acceptance speech, and they are allowed to say whatever it is they want to say. Sometimes you have some folks who get up there and they will speak their minds on a certain particular subject that will probably be deemed as either offensive or perhaps not universally agreed upon, but that's how they choose to speak. Now, you don't see them get penalized or get their Oscar taken away or anything like that. I mean, they're able to do what they want to do. So I'm curious to see how this whole thing's going to pan out as time marches on here, just because, as we all know, China has invested heavily in the United States in all kinds of areas. I mean, like there's kind of the running joke about like, oh, where's that made from? Oh, it's made in China. It's like what is not made in China? Well, now we're kind of entering this new chapter of not only are things, just about everything made in China, but now because China hasn't been investing in a lot of American interests and American business and stuff, now they're trying to control the narrative. And we're seeing that in movies. We're seeing that in games. We're seeing that when any kind of critical types of comments are made toward their government and that sort of thing. So it's a bit interesting to be able to see that. And it affects me, at the end of the day, it affects me as a gamer, as a consumer, because then I start thinking about those things. I've always stated that I can't stand it when, for instance, like a movie actor becomes all political. Because then when I go and see a movie with them starring in it, all I think about are their stances on some sort of political issue or whatever it is. When in fact, movies are designed for me to get away from all that. I deal with all that stuff on a daily basis. And then it's like at the end of the day, I'm thinking, man, I just want to escape. I want to go to a fantasy world. I want to be told a great story. Please, for the love of God, do not start talking about politics. And I think that that trickles down into even the company levels too, because, we were playing Twitch the other day and we were playing Overwatch. And I remember telling you, I was like, man, I'm feeling conflicted playing this game based on what I know from the research I did for the upcoming podcast episode of Joygasm. I wasn't just saying that. I mean, it's true. It really does cause me to pause on whether or not I want to continue playing games for Blizzard or that are created by Blizzard Entertainment, simply because now it's no longer, they're not just an entertainment company. Now I know that they're making calls and decisions that I don't agree with.
And right after you said that, of course, it said, oh, error loading map. Yeah, can't load it. Games, you're going to look at the black screen now. Good luck with that.
That was really funny.
Okay, interesting.
They were listening in on my comment. All of a sudden, the maps had trouble loading. We had a bunch of red text appear on the screen. It's like, oh, they're everywhere.
So one thing I found out is that a lot of employees at Blizzard aren't happy with Blizzard's decision either. And I guess at the headquarters of Blizzard, they have some statues, it's like a guild looking thing, you know, and they have such plaques all around this statue that say positive stuff like all voices matter. And so the employees had took it upon themselves to get like real thick, like white sheets of cardboard, and they'll like tape over these plaques because you cannot plaque that in front of your headquarters and then choose to go completely against that. Like, how hypocritical. And so it's not just the entire company of Blizzard. It's literally just the higher ups who are, you know, controlling the money.
Yeah, I remember also reading that a lot of the Blizzard employees, they staged a walkout in protest over what Blizzard had done, and
good for them.
They had even brought umbrellas. Apparently, one of the calling cards, if you will, of bringing attention to the Hong Kong situation. Apparently, the pedestrians were using umbrellas to try and protect themselves from like the tear gas and that sort of thing, and so that has caught on globally. And so folks who are sympathetic to what's happening and that sort of thing, and if they want to be able to demonstrate in other parts of the world, they simply just bring umbrellas.
That's awesome. On Reddit, some people are making these custom looking Hearthstone cards. And so you see, and it'll show like, you know, that famous, what was it in Tiananmen Square or something.
Tiananmen Square,
where those tanks are coming down, and that one like incredibly brave individual stands in front of the tanks.
Right.
That whole scene. So one person took a picture of that and pasted it over a Hearthstone card, and it said, "The effects of the card: silence any minions that oppose you and take their prize money."
Oh man, that's
and so
brilliant.
If you look on Reddit, I'm not a big Reddit guy. I should be, because I definitely do like it, but I always forget to jump on there. But the pages are going like nutso with responses. Like, I don't know if Blizzard's going to be able to recover. They have to say something. As a matter of fact, it was so viral that they just shut down their response page because their team could not keep up with it. I think they're about to reopen it again, but they're not taking any more comments.
That's very telling. And I, for one, am proud of our gaming community in the sense where you have gamers who, you know, they start to wake up. And honestly, this brings up another point, which is, I think that with streaming, with Twitch, Mixer, and others, I think that this is a very fascinating example of what can happen during a live stream, because it's live programming. And I think that these companies have wrestled with this in different capacities. I mean, I remember when Blizzard launched their Overwatch esports, and if you recall, we covered quite a few stories where different players from different teams said something or did something on social media, and Blizzard had to scramble and really have to try and enforce certain rules and codes of conduct and that sort of thing. And that was kind of interesting in its own way. But then looking at this particular situation, which is a bit different, I will be watching to see just how they conduct themselves moving forward, because the gaming community is one of the most informed, sharpest communities. I mean, like if you treat them right, they will love you forever. If you wrong them, there will be a reckoning. And I think that there is quite a bit of that. And also when it comes to this too, companies like Blizzard are going to pay attention because, once again, at the end of the day, they exist to make money. Yeah, they have a lot of fun creating what they create, and they're very good at what they do. But at the end of the day, that company exists to make money. And, you know, if there happens to be some sort of huge boycott because players don't agree with how Blizzard is handling a certain situation, they're going to take note of that.
Well, the company exists because of the creative talent they've hired too.
Right. It's about the people.
I have something to say that's completely not about China, but it kind of relates. So when I was selling cell phones independently for, inside Target, I don't know if this was like Target Corporation or just like mainly our store. But of course, you're working there. I spent 3.5 years there, and I made some friends, as well as all the other staff that had got hired and maybe moved on, and other people came in. But I'll say like, hey, you know, where are you? Send me your Facebook. I want to connect with you. And then some people came up to me and they said, no, I can't do that. And I'll say, well, why? And they said, because Target doesn't want us connecting with anybody on Facebook who works here. I was like, what? What are you talking about? Like, it's freaking Facebook. And they said, yeah, we can't connect with anybody. So I went to someone who was like mid-management. I was like, hey, let me connect with you on Facebook. And they looked at me and they went, that's funny. I'm not on Facebook much. I'm like, yeah, I know. I just want to be with you on Facebook. And they said, yeah, we can't do that because Target basically doesn't want anybody saying bad things about Target even after hours, even though it's in America.
Hey, it's all about appearances. Got to keep that appearance up, and companies are fiercely protective of their brand. So anyway, that wraps up this episode of Joygasm. Make sure you tune in next week. Thanks for hanging out with us. Actually, I'm going to stop right there and say that next week we will not have a podcast episode because good old Steve will be getting married and I will be there as his best buddy. So yeah, there will be a week of no Joygasm. So you'll have to tune in the week after next.
Although there might be a Joygasm Instagram or Facebook live.
There you go.
Video, maybe. I don't know. Who knows?
Regardless, thanks for hanging out with us on this particular episode. If you enjoyed it, we invite you to check out patreon.com/Joygasm and consider becoming a monthly contributor. You get exclusive perks and early access to the show. Not to mention, it really helps us continue doing what we love to do. Also, you can follow us on social media and YouTube. Just do a search for Joygasm TV. Last but not least, search Joygasm TV on Twitch to see us stream our gaming adventures live every Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. Central Time. We will see you in 2 weeks.
Later.